Shalom. And I want to start off by giving all the praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Wachach, Chodesh. Double honors to my teachers, the apostles and elders, the great millstone, and salutations to you, Akim, that's out there listening, pushing forward this word with truth and sincerity, and your few Akwat as well. Let's listen with sincerity. I'm the brother Machaya from the Camp GMS Montreal, coming back with another lesson. And in this one, basically, it's going to be about, us taking care of our health. Okay, being in the truth, we have to be wise and, be mindful of the things that we put in our body. Okay, which the elder Yashawamba made that statement, a few weeks back of how that, having a good diet, I'm putting in my own words, having a good diet or taking care of your health is also part of the truth. Okay, especially being these end times, man, where Esau is, putting more poison in the foods, man. The precept in Ezekiel, it says, we shall eat the defiled bread among the Gentiles. Hey, that's even more evident in these times with all these preservatives in the foods, and these. It's through, man. It's completely through. So with knowing that, man, you have to be mindful and watch what you intake in your temple. Okay, because scriptures does say, let's get that in Corinthians, First Corinthians, Salakia. Okay, bear with me. First Corinthians 2 and verse, it's 3. Bear with me. Yeah, First Corinthians 3 and verse 16. It says, "Know ye not that ye are the temple of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, and that the Spirit of the Most High dwelleth in you? If any man defile the temple of the Most High, him shall the Most High destroy. For the temple of the Most High is holy, which temple ye are." Okay, the temple referring to our body. Okay, that's our temple. So with knowing that, man, you ought not to defile your temple by putting these poisonous foods within you, man. Having a horrible diet, eating burgers every day, you know what I'm saying? Eating things that's not beneficial for your spirit, you have to be mindful of that, man, and take more greens and, fruits, grains, things of that nature, man. Things that actually, when you intake it in your body, it gives you a surge of energy, actually, fuels you up rather than slows you down, right? Because there's certain foods that you eat, it slows you down, man. You get something called the itis. You know what I'm saying? You finish eating, now you're all sluggish, you're tired, you want to, lay down and take a nap, and just be unproductive. When you eat something that's actually beneficial, like some greens, a salad, a fruit bowl, whatever, you feel energized. You feel like, yo, I have a surge of energy. I'm ready to, conquer the day and, get things done. Get particular tasks that you might have that you wanted to, take care of. Now you have that energy to take care of it. You have less of a brain fog, right? Because your diet is proper. But if it's not, then hey, you're gonna be unproductive. Yeah, that could affect your productivity as well, man. Having a horrible diet, that could affect your productivity. Okay? Because we're catching hell. That's a fact. So sometimes it may happen where you get in that state of mind of, eating comfort foods, the sweets, the pastries, we all have that rut. Then you get in that spirit, and then you realize that, I'm not being productive because what, you're in that comfort, man, and Satan wants you to stay within that comfort, of just fulfilling your the lust of your flesh to get comfortable and be in that spirit, which you got to snap yourself out of it, man, and get things in order. Okay, because your state of mind, the state of mind that you're in, it's gonna affect the things that you decide that I'm gonna eat today. Actually, there's a scripture on that. Bear with me. Yep, there we go. This is Ecclesiasticus Sirach 30 to the point. In verse 25 it says, a cheerful and good heart will have care for his meat and diet. You see, so if you have a cheerful heart, which the word heart goes back to the Hebrew word lab, which means mind. If you have a cheerful mind, you know, you're gonna have care for your meat and diet. Okay, you're gonna have care for your regiment, you know, the things that you intake in your body, man. Okay, because the word diet goes into, you know, a regiment, a way of life. You know what? Since I said that, let's get into etymology to back up the statement. Okay, we got to prove all things, right? So this is the word diet in the etymology online. It says regular food. Okay, and you know, in this world, people see diet as like, yo, you know, when you're eating healthy, first, for instance, they would view it as like, yo, oh, yeah, do you have a regimen? Is that you following your diet? Which a diet is just regular food. It's a way of life. You know what I'm saying? Well, let's continue with the definition. And it says diet, pietans, fare, medieval Latin, dieta, parliamentary assembly, a day's work. It says daily food, allowance food. There we go. I'm gonna go. It says from the Greek, dieteta. It says prescribed way of life. You say it's a way of life. You know what I'm saying? So your way of life is supposed to be healthy. Okay? You know? Because it reflects your state of mind too. You know what I'm saying? The things that you eat reflects your state of mind, where your mind is at. Okay? We read it. You know, cheerful and good. Let's get that again. A cheerful and good heart will have care for his meat and diet. You see? So if you're in a good spirit, you're in a cheerful mind, you know what I'm saying? Well, you're going to watch what you intake in your body. Because you know that whatever that you eat is going to affect it. You see? So it says, back to the definition, it says prescribed way of life from Greek dieta, originally way of life, regiment, dwelling. It says lead one's life. Okay, so it's basically supposed to be a way of life now. Okay? You know, because, you know, once you get into a habit, man, it sticks. Okay, whether it's for good or bad. You know, so once you start, you know, taking those foods that's beneficial for your body, man, you know, it won't take long for your body to adjust and then, you know, see the benefits of it, man. And you're gonna feel the effects. Okay, you're gonna feel, oh, like, yo, I feel way more energized. I feel healthier. You know, things of that nature. Because what? You know, you changed your diet. Okay, so it's very beneficial, man. All right. So let's get this, and I think it's in Psalms 104. Herb use. Um, there you go. This is Psalms 104 and verse 14. It says, he causeth the grass to grow for the cattle, and herb for the service of man, that he may bring forth food out of the earth. Okay, so, you know, the herbs, you know what I'm saying, the greens, they're put in place for your use, for you to utilize it, you know, and use it to your benefit, to eat it. Because when you go back into the creation and what's it called, in Genesis, you know, it says how that, you know, let's get it. I think it's Genesis 1 and 29. This is the book of Genesis 1 and verse 29. It says, and the powers said, behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed, which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree, and the which is the fruit of the tree yielding seed to you, it shall be for meat. You see, before, you know, the herbs and whatnot, you know, that used to be for our meat. You know, it was until that after the flood happened, that's when we became carnivores and started really eating meat. Before, we were just eating the herbs. You know what I'm saying? You know, things that bear seed, you know, the fruits, you know what I'm saying, the legumes, you know, that's what we used to eat. Not saying that meat, is bad for you. Of course, meat is good. Of course, you eat it with moderation. You don't overdo it because, excess of meat could bring forth sickness, as it says in the book of Sirach. Okay? Everything with the proper balance, of course, man. Like the Apostle Paul said, all things are lawful, but not all things are expedient. Just because it's lawful, doesn't mean you're supposed to. Just because it's lawful doesn't mean that you're supposed to, take, intake it to excess, right? Everything with the balance, man. I have some technical difficulties right there, but you're gonna see the time skip. But regardless, that's what the apostle said. So we have to put that into perspective too. Okay. You know what, man? Since I quoted that scripture, let's get it. In Sirach, the excess of meat. Yeah, I'm saying here it is, you're eating meat, 24/7. Which I gotta work on that too as well. But to your best of your ability, try to minimize, the intake of meat that you eat, especially red meat, man. Especially red meat. Because if you do it too much, you get gout. You know what I'm saying? You get sicknesses. Because the body, it takes a long time for you to digest red meats. But regardless, let's read this. Ecclesiasticus 37. Let's start at verse 27. It says, "My son, prove thy soul and thy life, and see what is evil for it, and give not that unto it." Right, so you have to prove your soul. You got to find out what works for you and what doesn't. Because everybody's different, man. A brother, you may eat. I don't know, man. Everybody's different. Let's put it like that, okay? I'm trying to find an example, but nothing's coming to mind. But everybody's different. Okay, so just find out what works for you, what regiment works for you, what way of life works for you. Try different foods, different things. If your body likes it, it's beneficial for you, and keep it that way then. Okay, prove your soul. Try different things. Okay, of course, within it being lawful, of course. It says, "For all things are not profitable for all men, neither hath every soul pleasure in everything." That's true. Another brother might like apples and you don't like apples, and brother might like fish and you don't like fish. Things of that nature, man. You got to find out what you like, what your palate likes. Okay? It says, "Be not unsatiable in every dainty thing, nor too greedy upon meats, for excess of meat bringeth sickness, and surfeiting will turn into choler." Okay, so excess of meat will turn into sickness, man, and bring forth into choler. Okay, so you got to be mindful. You got to be mindful of the intake of meat that you put in your body, man. Okay, because that could bring forth sicknesses, especially with Esau putting all type of injections within your meat supply. Putting hormones in it, steroids, to try to make, because Esau is all about profit, right? He's all about mass producing so that he can gain more profit. He doesn't raise the cattle properly. He speeds up everything by speeding up the process and putting injections in them and shit and stuff like that, man. So what do you think is gonna happen when you intake that too much? It's gonna mess up your system, and then you get sicknesses. Okay, so like I said, man, right now, man, it's very important to be mindful of your health, man. We're at the end times, man. Okay, the food is more poisonous than ever. The food has not been more poisonous than it is now, man, because we're at the end of the end. Verse 31, it says, "By surfeiting have many perish, but he that taketh heed prolongeth his life." You see, if you take heed, you're gonna prolong your life, man. You know what I'm saying? So you have to take heed, man. Don't say, "Oh, yo, we're in hell, man." Ezekiel said, "Yo, we'll eat defiled bread, man." And you try to justify your way of life as if, "Oh, yo, that's what, man, scripture say that, man. Scripture say you're gonna drink poison and live. I'm under grace, Ak. The Lord is protecting me. I can eat whatever I want." And then you wonder why your body's all jacked up all the time, and your back is hurting. You know what I'm saying? You have trouble remembering things. You have shortness of breath. Because what? Your diet is horrible. Okay? You have to be mindful of your diet. You have to be mindful of the things that you put in your body, man. Do not defile your temple, man. Okay, we have dietary laws. Okay, you read the book of First Daniel. Not First Daniel. Daniel, the first chapter. You can see how that our forefathers, they were mindful of the things that they put in their body, man. You know, when they were offered with the king's portion of meat, you know what I'm saying? Daniel, he refused that, man. He's like, nah, man, give me pause to eat. You know what I mean? Try your servant. Give me pause to eat, and then, compare the faces of my face and the face of the rest of your servants and see, which is fatter in flesh, right? So we have to seek the old paths, man. Let's get that. Seek old path. We have to seek the old path, man. It's Jeremiah 6 and 16. Let's get it, man. This is Jeremiah 6 and verse 16. It says, "Thus saith the Lord Yahweh Shem Shai, study ye in the ways and see, and ask for the old paths, where is the good way, and walk therein, and ye shall find rest for your souls. But they said, we will not walk therein." So we have to seek the old paths, man. That's the good way. Okay, that's the way that brings unto life. Okay, you have to figure out, how certain things you have to go like, how did my forefathers do this? How did my forefathers, eat? How was it like? Let me try to apply that as best as possible to my way of life, to my diet. Okay? Because the old way is the better way. Because the kingdom, that's what it's going to be like. It's going to be the old way, but even better. You know what I'm saying? So, you got to be mindful, man. You got to be mindful of the things you put in your body, man. All right? It's very important, man. Okay? Very important. But yeah, man, that was the point, man. This was on my spirit, so I figured I'd cut on the camera, and put this on wax. But yeah, I'm gonna close it off there, man. The point was made. All right, thanking all the praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Wachach Wadash. Lord willing, this lesson was edifying. Until next time, I'm gonna say